Fulfill the TV show dream here.
Oh, hell yeah. Let's go live.
Okay.
I was thinking of doing Facebook too for good measure.
Yeah, go for
What do you
it.
think
Do all
of
of
that?
them. Do it all. Do them all!
All the things. All right, cool.
Okay, so you gotta join the video and then I'll add you. And maybe mute. I don't know how this will work to do all of them.
Okay. So you want me to join on Instagram?
Yes.
All right, cool.
Ooh, is that a clip on mic?
Yes. I think I need to do that from my phone though, huh?
Yeah, I have them set up separately.
Yeah, I think the phone is better to do that. All right, cool. I have my phone. There you are. I see you. All right, cool. That's me. I have my phone. That's so funny. There's a little delay on it.
We're getting it. Technology's the goofiest.
Yay.
Oh, I see your face two places.
So much going on.
And then live, how do we get waiting? There's not live. There's two sounds, but people can still hear the live. I didn't think this one was through.
Okay. So, you want to mute the live?
Yeah, I think, and then I'll record on the computer for what I post. And then we'll post it.
Okay. I'm not sure I know how to do that.
I have no
But I can
idea.
do it here.
Mute the computer.
Yeah. But then I'm still hearing it through yours. It's like echo.
Okay, here's a question though. If we mute on Zoom, does it not record because it's muted?
No, it's definitely recording. I can see that. And it sounds better already.
But on Zoom, will it record with us muted? Or if you mute a microphone, does it not record the person because they're muted?
You mean the sound?
Yes. Yeah, would it not record the sound?
It would not record the sound.
Okay.
So let's see. I don't know if there's any kind of settings to change on Insta. Hey Ingrid, what's up, girl?
Maybe Ingrid has an idea. Or maybe is there a way once I get the Instagram live that I could take the audio from that to post for the podcast?
Yes. I believe so. So you can share it. After it's done, it'll say, do you want to share it? And same on Facebook. I know that much.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then it just shares it immediately.
Yeah, but you have to make sure as soon as it's done to share it or save it. It'll give you that option.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Because I was gonna post it on the podcasting platforms and all the things for next Thursday. But I can post the live one.
Mm-hmm.
I can post this one today when it's up, or like save it and put it up after. People can listen to all this talk of the planning.
Yes, and you know what else I think is that the Zoom is recording us and can hear, but it's not like through Zoom. It's from the camera or from your phone.
Oh, it would be recording through the phone. That's goofy.
I think so.
I think you're right. So
but I'm not sure. We'll find out. It's all an experiment, right?
It is. We turn on the Zoom recording to see what's going on.
Yeah, check it out.
We'll see what happens here. The worst case scenario is we have to podcast again and record it in a different way. I think we're good here.
Okay. Hi.
That's a pretty cool worst case.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna pretend like that stuff wasn't recorded, and
right.
I'm gonna say the intro and say a little bit about you, and then let you introduce yourself in your words, and then we'll talk about magic and words for magic.
Sounds good.
Hello and welcome to the Annie Altman Show, the podcast, season 5. Welcome to the Choice series and welcome to the 8th episode in this series. I'm here with Malaika Butoyi. I can't. Butoyi. No, the last name was not totally correct. Please say your last name with the
Butoyi.
correctness. Butoyi. Okay. Malaika Butoyi, who is a magician of all of the body and mind and fairy-y, sparkly of sorts. That's all I'm going to say. And I'm going to let you introduce yourself a little in your own words. Thank you so much for being here and for experimenting with all this different technological ways here.
Yes, absolutely. So my name's Malaika. I'm a yoga teacher, currently teaching online, and I also am a meditation coach. I like to encourage present moment awareness. So that's where the magic happens. And it's awesome to join you today, Annie.
I remember meeting you for the first time at an acro jam, and you came and you were so matter-of-factly like, yeah, I just came to like hang out and see people, like come sit outside for a bit. And I was like, this human, like, cool.
Yeah, because it's like 50% social. I think that's what I said. Absolutely.
You did. And that being present with being with people and being outside, and just, I'm going to choose to be here because this is where I want to go be.
Yeah, choosing to be here now is a huge thing. Yeah, because you're either here now or you're nowhere.
Well, and you are still here regardless. Like, your body is where it is. It's whether or not we're paying attention to it. In my experience, I'm like, wow, it really has just been me with this human suit this whole time.
True story. Yes, the constellation that is me is vast, infinitely within. And it happens to be also my meat suit spaceship to navigate this world. So, very grateful for my own body. Whether it's blipping in and out of reality or not, because that's true too. It's like we're all vibrating like this, and sometimes we're here and sometimes we're not. But it's like for a split second. And that's getting really deep into like deep physics. But regardless, for our purposes, we are here now.
Well, we can get into some of the deep physics because I love where that overlaps with the deep magic that is, we don't know what's going on, and we know that there's space in these little atoms, and we're all acting like there's these like set rules of 0, 1 binary math and science, and then magic or spirituality or any of these things keep going and science keeps going, and they're like, wait, we're saying the same things.
We're saying the same thing in a different way. That's right. And that's a choice, right?
To like how we say it?
Yes.
Ooh.
That's a choice.
It is. And if we choose to acknowledge what, like, the other person saying something, even if differently, that they're saying the same thing.
Yes, and.
Yes, and. Yeah.
Mateo's episode with you.
The yes and.
Yes, and of it all.
Of all of it. Well, I love, there's such an overlap, which I find really cool to see, between people who do body work and movement practices and these really tangible, physical based things. And also we're really into this cerebral and feeling and blood flow, and not blood flow, that's more tangible again, into things that are so seemingly different from that.
Yeah.
Because like you were going into physics and then you sort of stopped yourself. You were like, oh wait, I can't talk about, or you were like, that's some deep
That's
physics there.
We'll back around to later.
Yeah.
Perhaps.
Okay. Well then let's start with magic and talking about, like, let's talk about a podcast of something to do with choice. It was really, magic became this very clear thing to talk about, and I was like, I felt,
Mm-hmm.
it felt like a very easy topic to go into. And also it can be such a broad, like, well, what does that even mean? Where does magic overlap with science, spirituality, with breath? And
Yeah. Okay. So I'm a yogi. And I've been studying meditation for the majority of my adult life. Started my sophomore year of college back east. And I've been noticing how humans can make magic, yogis, their yogic powers. And then you can take it further. A lot of my friends do experiment with spell casting and all of that. It's really interesting that we do have so much personal power. And unpacking that is such a joy. It's such a surprise every time I go deeper into my meditation, into my yoga, unpacking all the gifts that we do have. We don't even use much of our brain, right? So there's so much potential there. And we're always discovering new ways how we can create the reality that we want. And that's where the magic lies.
Mm,
Pretty cool.
very cool. A lot of it, what I'm hearing and feeling from my experience with it, is about the unknown and space for
Mm-hmm.
the unknown, and like you were saying, to be surprised.
That's right. Yeah, if you lean into that feeling like, okay, so this is what I know, and now here's this vast ocean of what I don't know, then you're giving space. You're allowing the universe to surprise you. And that's magical too. Yesterday, this is a kind of a funny story. So, this is about letting the universe surprise you and setting intention. So yesterday I took a big crystal of mine. I took a selenite rod, which you can use like if the crystal is long, that's like a magic wand in effect. So you can charge it in the sun or the water, in moonlight, or with your own intention. And then you can make it like a tool of healing. Just point it where you want. Like if your elbow hurts, you point it there. And I pointed it at my heart and I started circling my heart. And I was saying to purify my heart, my intention, purify, and also to refine my process. How can I go better about doing the things? And it wasn't long after I did that. I circled my heart a few times with it. I put it down, and then I went to grab a very expensive bottle of this magic elixir, black magic auric elixir that my friend makes for the face. I grab the bottle, and a lot of it just pours out onto the counter. And it was such an odd thing because here I was asking to refine my process, and there I go spilling an expensive bottle that I really just got this week. And I thought at first, of course, there's the initial egoic thing of like, oh no, let me gather it up, try to put it back in the bottle. But hey, like, don't cry over spilt elixir, right? It doesn't go back in the bottle. Just use it, right? This is a gift. I would never have used that amount, but I actually anointed myself, my whole body in this elixir. And it was just magical the whole day. It has like black tourmaline in it and all kinds of very healing oils. And I was basically floating, like my feet barely touched the ground for the rest of the day. And I thought, okay, well, that actually was an inadvertent gift. The universe did surprise me. I never would have used that amount on my entire body, but it was like the most expensive, most beautiful spa treatment that I gave to myself. And it was a beautiful feeling. I felt like this shield of protection around me. Even when I went to see my folks, I was just pretty much floating there and had this like very intense deep space nine meditation that day. And it's a good example of no, I didn't expect, and I did not plan for that, but I took it for what it was and made it a gift.
I so feel you on that moment of, ah, fuck, it's spilled. This wasn't what's supposed to happen. Now what do I do? And then you're like, okay, well, this is not happening to me. This is happening for me. This is happening through me. What other choice can I make instead to choose this magical day, this magical feeling, all the hashtags of like self-care and giving yourself attention, and It's like what
Exactly.
you were saying too with the wand about what Western medicine will label as things of placebo effect and put in this box of like, oh, well, this is just happening because we don't want to talk about it, rather than saying, well, wait, what about our intention with what we're doing? And our intention with being open to then doing something else when life happens.
Exactly. And I think that's a really good point, is that I'm not trying to control my mind. There's no controlling your thoughts. You can observe your thoughts. If you try to control them, I think you would kind of just like self-destruct. You know, I'm not about this. It's more about expansive quality. A lot of us are just so packed in and tightly wound, and that's where a lot of the problems lie, the undesirable feelings. And in my tantric meditations, I've learned to expand and expand more, and it's a process of letting go and accepting what is within, without. And so oftentimes if I have a non-yogic thought, I call them, like, oh no, this is terrible, what am I going to do, or I don't want this, I can then step back and be the observer, like, okay, so small me, my small self, is going through this very human reaction. But then also I have the choice to then respond. I can respond with a more yogic thought, a more positive thought, whatever I want. And it becomes like a dance. And that's beautiful. I'd rather dance than try to control my mind. Yeah.
Very well said, and also very, it's comforting and grounding and all of those words to me to hear the acknowledgement of both sides of it, rather than all of the classic spiritual bypassing that I've totally done to myself of like, oh, well, I just got to be like this all the time and those human parts of me are bad. And I'm like, come on,
Boy, oh boy.
you're just still in it.
Yeah, you're getting back into the shoulds.
Lots of shoulds. Yeah. Well, so, and that's like you were saying of control, that also to me very human tendency to want to control the thought, or to say, oh, well, if I do X, Y, or Z differently, maybe I can control it, instead of, okay, much like a breath practice, maybe I can control it for this little teeny period of time, and also it's gonna be there, it's gonna be the clouds in the sky.
Yeah, and it's not about always simply floating in chaos. You can always direct. You can, that's what intention is about. You're intending to go to flow in this way, and then sometimes there's a bend in that river, the river of consciousness, and you can flow with that, or you can take your little paddle and paddle the other way, but like that's the choice too. How hard are you going to go? Yeah.
So where's the magic? Is the magic to you that sweet spot of effort ease?
Trying easy is the magic. It's like the
Full
middle
ease.
way. Well, it's the middle way. So acknowledging that there is this infinite potential. We're in this infinite sea of experience. And then there's also my choice to navigate that with my little boat of my human self, this vessel that I have, and this mind and body that I have. I can choose to go with the flow, which is often very pleasurable. And if I choose to then direct the flow, I can do that too. You
Ooh.
got this, aka.
Ooh. Well, I really, that phrasing, it really sits, my body is very like, hell yes to that phrasing of choosing to go with the flow, because that is an active choice. That it's like you're in a position, you're in a pose, and you can actively choose to release a little resistance, a little bit of tension somewhere where you're clenching something up.
Mm-hmm.
And it's an active, I mean, it can just happen as
Yes.
well, and it does just happen. It's all yes, and also it can be really
Yes.
active, when people say breathe into your hip, breathe here, and you're
Mm-hmm.
actively going with the flow of your breath.
That's so interesting that you said that, actively choosing to let go. I was literally just
you
saying that in yoga class yesterday, that you
you,
can
you
actually
said choose to
feel
go
the
with the
tension.
flow.
yes, you feel the tension and you actively want to let it go, you can do that. And usually it's a good thing.
And there's something that feels very empowering for that, for the like little human ego in the boat of life raft to be like, hey, human, like it's your choice if you want to let this go. There's no pressure. You don't have to go with the flow if you don't want to. Like you can put up all the resistances you want.
Yeah.
Here's your option.
Yeah, I feel that we are so often trained to hold on really tightly, right? To hold on to what we've acquired in this life, to what we feel is necessary for us. And we've got this like death grip a lot on these things, these mental constructs. And it shows up in the body too as tension. And sometimes you can just take a look at it and deconstruct. Well, what do I really need? And start taking it away. We often call it the sandbags, letting go of the sandbags, the worries. You become lighter. And that's pretty magical too. Like you're the same weight physically, but you can actually feel lighter. Like some days, maybe you're.
Oh no, I can't hear you. I'm gonna unmute you here. I can't hear you on live. Maybe it's my internet. I see your mouth moving.
Hi.
Hi. Okay, we're here.
Okay, great. So should I join the Insta again?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I'm so curious to see how this turns out with all the recording.
Yeah, it's a grand experiment. So now I'll mute here. Yes.
Yes.
And we are connecting. Boom. We're back, baby.
We're back.
We blipped out and then we came back in. Did you see that?
Much like the magic.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Skiddly-doo. Wait. Nice.
It's really helpful for me to have those tangible physical examples to feel and to talk about, and also as what I feel like is what can be offered to other people to help them is something that they can do in their body to notice that magic of, oh, wait a minute, what if I actively breathe into my hips even though there aren't lungs there, and what happens to something that maybe there's this muscle that's gripping. And I loved what you were saying too about how it shows up in these things that show up in our body are these neural ruts that we're in, are these thought patterns, these beliefs, these things we're holding so tightly onto that then our muscles literally are like, this is this thing. This thing.
Absolutely. I feel that your body and mind connection is so strong, we don't even generally realize that they're going back and forth and having a conversation. And similar to like if you're speaking to your friend and they're going through something, you're going to start feeling what they're feeling. The body will respond to what you're thinking. And vice versa, when you start to relax the body, your mind will then also, it's called entrainment, right? So the mind will go where the body flows, or your energy goes where your attention flows. So yeah, you can direct your breath into your hip because your consciousness is going there, and you can choose like, hip, let's do this thing. Let's relax and release and feel some joy. To choose that joy is super important theme in my life. To stay in the light. Um, that's a conscious choice and a really intelligent choice, because I can have all these thoughts when I wake up, like, oh, I got to take care of this. Oh, I got to take care of that. Oh, well, better ma. But then I can stop that process. I can choose to say, all right, well, there are all those things. Let's brush that aside for now. And let's think about one reason to be joyful this morning. Just, I only need one reason. And there are so many other reasons in the opposite direction. But I mean, it's just, and even just the simple choice of, I would rather focus on, the sunlight. Nature usually gets me there. Or focus on my beautiful cat. There she is. There's a lot of other things. You can redirect the mind and choose to think and feel and be in any way that you choose. And that is such a beautiful thing. It's an amazing gift to be human, to go in and out of that, in your head, out of your head, in the world, in your body. You can go back and forth. You can go wherever you want. You can go on a magic carpet ride anytime.
Anytime. And we're all just acting like it's all so casual that we can't control our thoughts, like you're saying, that we can actively choose where we focus our attention.
Where you go next, yes.
Ooh, yeah, and then how much that impacts what is happening in that present moment when we give it present attention.
Yeah, it reminds me, actually, this is an interesting example. Have you ever done sensory deprivation?
I have not done a sensory deprivation tank, no, not yet.
I'm talking about the tank, but you can do it any way that you want.
And
Pratyahara,
sort of.
yogic term for it, it's withdrawal of the senses. You can do it by covering your eyes for a little bit or covering your ears, right? See no evil, hear no evil, just for a moment. And it's a very interesting thing that happens because your other senses start to develop. And when you do the sensory deprivation tank, it is like Deep Space Nine all of a sudden. And I remember when I first did it, you're floating in the tank in the salt water, and they've got music playing to just ease you into it. And then the lights go off. The music's still playing. So you can get used to your environment. Then all of a sudden the music stops and it's like you're in the void. You are in the void as if you were sleeping and just astrally projecting throughout the universe. And that's what I felt. I thought, wow, let me just hold on to my intention of loving kindness here as I go for this rocket ride throughout the cosmos. And I felt that I was floating through space, and I started seeing all these colors, like all the colors of the rainbow, like I was going through this beautiful starscape. And I knew it was because I was holding on to my intention of loving kindness and expansion. And I had a good experience. And I came out of that tank, and what was really cool is they had this journal, a communal journal there. So you get out of there, you dry off, and then you can sit and recalibrate, like reintegrate into the world. And there's coloring books and this journal. And I got to thumb through everybody's experiences, and it was so wild. Like some people just, oh my God, it was so terrible. I had to run out of there. And then you'll see, oh, okay, I came back and I was able to handle it a little longer. But it's really just, what do you do when you're in the void and your thoughts? Then you have a really interesting choice to make, and that's actually just a little tidbit of what's really happening. That's what reality is a choice. We're all choosing this, to see these things. We're agreeing upon this stool, this laptop being here. And that's why it's in and out, because it's all, if you really want to get into it, it's Prakriti. Prakriti is the material world. And it's an illusion, basically. And all that we really have, there's a theory that all we really have is how we feel. It's the only thing that's real. And to go by that and to be able to embrace that and navigate the world that way is such a beautiful thing. That's the magic from within that can spill out and affect the world around you.
So cool to hear about that. Wow. And that if all we have is how we feel, then choose the thoughts and the feelings that feel good. Choose the good feelings and accept the bad feelings and accept duality and focus on, as like you said, living in the light, whatever whatever those words are for someone.
Yes. And embracing shadow side, like you said, is so important. You have to take all the colors of the rainbow. Taste that rainbow, right? That was a marketing campaign. But it's true. Let yourself feel all the feels, because that's true freedom.
Is not repressing it, resisting, like we were talking about, that muscle tightness in my experience. And as I'm thinking about different stories and lessons with my body, that's been, it feels like a whole resistance to feelings when then I have some injury or some recurring thing where my body is gripping and being like, don't feel it, don't feel it, don't feel it.
Oh my God, that's true. Because in this deep meditation I had yesterday, there's this wonderful man, Sudama, who has been a healer for like 40 years. Highly recommend. He was saying, if you are in pain, there's probably something you did wrong. And it's not like blaming you, but how are you processing the pain? Like, I've been having really strong cramps the last couple of days. I'm in my moon cycle. But my choice, right? Am I going to be like, arg, 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 like, what are you doing, uterus? How dare you put a cramp in my style? No pun intended. Yes, pun intended. But also I can relax into it. Okay, I can be aware that these muscle contractions are happening, and I can have and let my body rest, because it's doing a lot to cleanse from within, and to appreciate and accept that process reduces the actual physical pain that I'm feeling. Like in yoga, you lean into the pain. And that's just a process of accepting it, living with it. Like I had migraines when I was a teenager, and I thought, oh, well, it's going to help me with that. And it has, but it wasn't like it would eliminate any idea of a migraine ever happening. It changed the way that I experienced it. And it did lessen. But it was all about just saying, okay, this is happening, and it's okay. Okay with being not okay.
Maybe that's where some of this magic is. And like you were saying, again, I love that phrase of choosing to go with the flow. And that magic of, which sounds so cliche and trite in ways too, to say, giving it attention, giving that loving and kindness, that direct intention to this part of my body, to this glass of water I'm drinking, to this plant that I see, to this person I'm coming across.
Yeah.
Oh, it changes
Being
so.
here now. Yeah.
In some ways, I feel like there's this big resistance to like personify Western science for a moment, that it's like a big Western science body resistance to embrace the power, that it's an intimidation almost of the power of mind body connection and the power of placebo, that seems too big, and how can we measure this, and how could we possibly, I don't know, do you ever feel like it's like, or where do you feel like that resistance comes from to say that people are like, no, it can't possibly be yes and between Western and Eastern practices?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, and I think if anybody uses absolutes, you can poke holes in it. It's okay to have differing beliefs. And I think the first step in any of these conversations is to respect everyone's, and it's okay to disagree. There's room for all of it. Also, if there's a phenomenon happening, it doesn't matter if you believe it or not, it's happening. And if you're in something, that is something you can trust. And I'm not so big on measurements. Some people are. Behavioral materialists are super huge on that. I'm not so hung up on that. But I can appreciate why you would want physical evidence. You know, and I
That's such
love
a loving.
my science friends, because it's like, there's such a polarity there. Very interesting. There's a reason why we come together and have these roundabout discussions, because it's a different perspective, and I'm open to perspectives. I want to have those interesting conversations. You know, all the colors. Let's paint with all the colors.
That was such a loving kindness way of saying about, I can see why you want a numerical evidence.
Yes.
And also, I was just talking about this with someone of people talking about food and calories in, calories out, and saying that if you look at 13-year-old boys eating huge amounts of food and being this big, it's not just the numbers. There's more going on here. It can't just be this pure numerical, even what we're seeing scientifically. There's more.
There's more. We talk about molecules. We talk about the gases in the cells. We talk about all of these different things, but there's a lot of unknowns. There's a lot of space in us. There's a lot of light. There's a lot of water, which is where transformation occurs, in my opinion. Water is magic because it changes form, right?
Ooh. Let's go more into this, and I'll take a sip of it. Say more about where water comes in with that.
Choose to hydrate. Absolutely. Cheers. And also in space, right? We have all this dark matter. Like, what is that? We don't know. I heard something about how there are black holes everywhere, portals everywhere. Look at my cat's eyes, portals. Even our eyes. Yeah.
Say more about the water, and even with vision, in some ways, there's some overlaps there of reflection and that transformation. You said water is magic, and water can change forms.
Well, yeah, I mean, like, I'm talking about IEM and that.
Yeah.
But also,
yeah. Water is a molecule. Is a unique and very magical teeny little molecule.
It is. There's all these qualities of water that are somewhat magical. The surface cohesion. How does it all stay together when you pour the water and it comes up? I love that about science. It's like, what's going on there? That's weird. What are you doing, water? We're holding on to ourselves. We have integrity. That's what the molecules are saying. We like each other. We want to hold on. But yes, water, wading in the water. This is a theme, like a theme throughout human history, is you go into the water to cleanse, right? You get baptized in the water. I have a nice metaphor. The river is flowing through me, and I call it the river of peace. And this goes into mantra, which is huge in choice. Like I will start singing in the morning, and it really helps to set my mind in a positive direction. Mantra is an intention. And if I intend to dip into my deep river of peace, I can do that anytime. Like, it's always there. And that's a metaphor, but it is the flow. When I say the river, I mean getting into the flow state of mind, which, as any movement person knows, is so freeing. Any creative person, anybody who enjoys what they're doing in the moment knows about flow. And it's such a nice place to be, because it's that letting go and the no thought that happens. When you're really, when you get a dance performance down and I'm dancing on stage, all of a sudden I'm not thinking about the next move anymore. I'm just being it, because my muscles already know what to do. And then you can really let go and enjoy it. Surfing, mountain climbing, some people say, definitely acro. What gets you into flow state?
Definitely dance and movement. Singing as well. And sometimes, like, playing ukulele and singing at the same time. I feel like there's something too that can the same way of mantra, sort of giving my thinking mind a job. Sometimes having the two jobs and being like, okay, I'm gonna sing and play and multitask, makes it easier for me to then let go of the other. Oh, well, how do I control this is going and what's happening here, because I'm already occupied.
Yes, it's that redirect. It's a great tool. Learn that from babysitting.
yeah, we're all big babies.
Yes, take that child and be like, look, here, play with these crayons.
Yeah, and it's a practice of, even on my own yoga practice or movement, of, okay, I'm gonna let myself just free move and do what feels good here, and then that ego self-conscious voice is like, oh well, what about this flow I should do maybe in this structure this way, or oh well, how do I know what's right to do next, and how to trust in that like watery magic flow. I feel like trust is a big theme of this, to say,
Mm.
I'm going to just go with the improv of my movement, or like you're talking about with the dance performance, to say, I trust that I've done this so many times that my muscles know this. I trust that this will be fun to watch if I'm having fun, and I focus on having fun and being here and performing, rather than being like, well, what is the next move of this choreography?
You know, that's a really interesting point, because I was just having this conversation with a friend. Like, if you have that apprehension about what's happening next, that's usually called anxiety. And I've dealt with this a lot. What's happening next? Ah. And then in acro, but in terms of acro, it's don't anticipate. Because if you're thinking of, all right, I know this machine and I know what happens next, you're thinking of the next move before you're being in the current move, and that'll throw your partner off, because you're starting to lean to the side when you shouldn't be. You should be like stable and centered in the now, and just wait for it. Like, wait for that wave. You're going to catch that wave, wait for it. Be here now. And if you're thinking of the past, if you're leaning back, thinking of the past, nostalgia is so seductive sometimes. Like, oh, it was beautiful then, before the big Q, our life was beautiful then. But that's an enemy of present moment awareness. It's a hallmark of depression. And I don't want either of those things. Yes, you have to sometimes think about past and future, but do that as little as possible. There's so much to enjoy right here. And actually, right here and now is all that we have.
Ever.
Let's
Literally
step
ever.
out of time a moment. There isn't that. There is only now. And it's an eternal moment that we share. So, what do we do with it? What do we do with this flow, this portal that we're all in?
We just keep being in it, or we keep choosing to come back and observe it. I
Yeah, and
guess, or we
do
just
whatever you want to
something.
do.
I mean, there's not, we're just in it. Like, we don't, I'm accepting that there's way less control than I sometimes want there to be. Of it. We're here, and that's what we know, sort of, that we're sort of here, and that we kind of bounce in and out of here.
Boop, boop, boop.
Boop,
Yeah.
boop. It is so, I appreciate you saying that and putting that out there, and also with the loving kindness of putting it out there, rather than being like, this is the truth and this is whatever, to say, to label it, labeling things of future thinking is anxiety, past thinking is depression. Obviously, in a human suit, you sometimes need to think about the past and the future. And also, if you're focusing on what feels good, if you're choosing the magic of feeling good, of feeling present, then you're focusing on what's currently happening.
And then you're starting to create the reality that you want. I was saying yesterday about how I have markers of happiness. I have a bookmark in my Instagram.
Markers?
Like, if I look really happy, I save that photo in a bookmark, and it helps me recognize this is the face I make when I'm really, really happy. And to remember, oh, this is what brought me to state. And then I think, okay, how can I recreate that? How can I lean into that feeling and make that my day, as much as possible? Just to remember that, and your brain will remember that rut. You'll start to create a groove. And then you're in the happiness
Will you share a little bit?
groove.
Yeah. My guess is that part of your knowing about this is also having dealt with the duality of knowing the other side of it, of going into your human shadow. People don't talk about, everyone deals with depression, anxiety in some capacity, and also a lot of times the more people deal with it, the more they know about how to
100%.
deal with it. What was it like share a little bit about, for you, this sort of transition of, okay, well, I can consciously.
Dark night of the soul. Right after my freshman year of college, And we talk about the dark night of the soul as this realization like, life isn't what I thought. Who am I? What am I? Like all of that, the darkest. And it becomes darkest before the light. Eckhart Tolle talks about his dark night of the soul was his spiritual awakening. And oftentimes, if it gets that bad, and people with anxiety, depression, I had like panic attacks. I didn't know what they were. I hadn't dealt with that much pressure, didn't know how to handle it. And navigating through that and learning to understand that, I got all these tools. Breathe. How to stop thinking things have to be a certain way. How to accept my mistakes. How to love myself more. And the more I do that inner work, the better I can show up for others, and how important it is to connect in an authentic way. And I couldn't have gotten there without all that undesirable experience. Again, okay, here it is. Here it's showing up. It was going to go away forever. What do I do now? Let me sit in this and follow it back to the root. How can I redirect? How can I either accept or start to change what's happening? And it's true that people who deal with these things are really good at putting themselves in a better mood because they had to learn. It's a survival mechanism. It becomes absolutely necessary. So every day I'm doing that work. Maybe it's every hour, you know, breath by breath. It may take 3 breaths to get back to where I want to be, to my center. It may take 3 hours, and that's okay. You know, accept the process. Different about how they approach these things and what makes them feel good. And so I encourage people to delve, like, it's good to have teachers, but what I want to do is hold space for my students to realize the guru within, to realize the inner teacher, because everything is a teacher. And what a beautiful gift if you really notice what's happening in this moment. Oh my God, how could you not feel the magic? The sunlight streaming in, making the flowers grow, this beautiful design, and all of these amazing geometric patterns that happen, like Fibonacci sequence stuff and a seashell shape, you know, that the universe is spiraling in this beautiful way, like a lovely cosmic flower just opening and opening, and that's the consciousness lotus blooming. And like, that's amazing.
I love that of how could you not see the magic? And also that I really resonate with that experience of a loving force to say, you gotta choose love. You gotta choose the thing that feels good and go in that direction of choosing to go with the flow, because look at and notice how it feels to resist it. And then using that too as a way to be grateful, to be, this is a tool, this is a lesson, this is something to teach me. And it comes back and you say, oh, hi, little depressive thought, hi, anxiety, what's up? Let me give you attention again, because that's what we do here, is we give you attention. We don't gaslight you and say that you don't exist as part of being human.
Yeah. Yes, and.
Yes, and. So what would you say has been, in my experience, I know this concept of magic feels really expansive, and the more I lean into it, then the more things seem to keep going. So I'd love to hear, for you, was it that sort of snowball effect of your experience of your dark night of the soul, your, okay, well, this is the choice that I'm going to make because this is what feels like I'm in my human integrity, and then would you say you noticed a significant, this is totally my science numerical brain, like a significant shift
Mm-hmm.
in the
Absolutely.
quality of your life and in your day to day?
Yes. Isn't it called the uncertainty principle?
Yes, Heisenberg. Thank
Something
you for bringing this
observed,
up.
something observed starts to change by the sheer observance of it. You start to notice these things in your life, these patterns, and you start to say, huh, now I'm really looking with my higher self. My third eye is open. Everything starts to shift. The universe will conspire to help you if you ask for the right thing. You have to be really specific, because once you ask, here it comes, baby. Are you ready? So be sure to know exactly what you want. And I think that's half the battle, is figuring out, what do you want?
It
Work.
cut out for a
I've been doing
second
a lot
there.
of
Hello?
hypnosis with my friend Michelle.
Ooh,
Can you hear me? Yeah, we're
we're
cutting out
back.
kind of.
You were saying that half the battle is figuring out what you
Yeah,
do want. And then you were talking
what
about
you do
hypnosis when you
want,
came
and
back.
I work the yes, a way of, it's like casting a spell, figuring out what it is that you want to happen, and then training your being to be that, embody that. And then it's a constant process of tailoring it and tweaking here and there. What would you like to happen? But magic in general has been really, it's actually intimidating to me that people do actual magic. I work with everyday magic. I work with yogic powers. To me, that's really most useful. For more than is coming seems a little bit, I haven't really delved into that very much without thinking there's got to be a repercussion for that. So I want things to come to me that are meant to come to me. And so you can ask for that. And it's all about then abundance theory, you know, saying, yes, I do deserve what I want. And yes, this is meant for me. But figuring out that's called discernment. And that's a huge part of growing up, learning what is for me, what is not for me. Magic is, I heard this in Midnight Gospel. I don't know if you know that series, but you know it, right? So he's saying magic is like all the lifetimes of human knowledge just compressed into one life when you start to make magic happen. And that's really interesting. Like, are you going off book here? Are you getting ahead of the class? And that's, yes, that's okay. Yes, and that's okay. So for my Wiccan friends, my spell casting friends, I applaud you for going in the deep end of the pool. For me, it's the middle way. I'm in the river. I can stand, my feet are on the ground. I feel the cosmic rushing, and I can lean into that and direct that a little bit here and there. And for me, that's enough. Everyone chooses how much magic they can handle. And that's a choice too.
Mm. And we need people choosing everywhere along the spectrum.
Everyone has a different place in that path. I
Mm.
accept that I'm a somewhat young soul. I've learned that about myself. So I'm still kind of like, little league here. And that's okay.
Or they're
Yeah.
just different leagues. I feel you on that. Again, very physical, tangible epigenetics, even if we're going to give science terms to how much wisdom our bodies have that we have no idea about because of how many bodies came before them to make each of these bodies that has all of this stored memory and information and experience that is there. And I also feel you on, which is another goofy thing because it feels almost like going into ego stuff again of like, oh, well, they're in this league of magic or they're in this stuff or wow, look at that person doing all of this manifestation work or this stuff and I'm like, okay, we're back in like your like human raft thing, wanting to compare your rafting
Yes.
experience to other people's and it's all different and it's all the same and you're fine and you're good and wow, look at how pretty the sunlight is as you're rafting along.
Yeah, take it all in. You know, take in the scene around you rather than focus on where you're going. Yes, that's important. You got to know where you're going, but also there's this beautiful scene all around you. Like, look to the right, look to the left. Like, have you ever noticed you go down a certain street, you're in a car, and then suddenly you're not in a car and you're going down the same street, you're walking or biking? The experience is so different. Oh, I didn't notice that before. Oh, what's that there? That's the wonderment. You know, let the universe surprise you. You know, it's not all about your agenda all the time. There's a lot of other things going on.
And that agenda can make it such a easy distraction to focus on that rather than focusing on what's going on again right in front of us.
Yeah, like I do want to be focused, but I don't want to miss out on the joy. You know, it's not about by any means necessary. I'm not a by any means necessary person anymore. Because there was a moment where I was pretending to be perfect and trying to make everything perfect. And it's so hard.
It's so hard. It's
Let
so
go a
hard. Was
little.
that sort of before the dark night of the soul moment of the like
Yeah.
intense pressure and building and like I have to be this way and fit this mold, and then something was like, fuck this is ridiculous?
Oh, there's a big lesson for you. Backhand, spiritual backhand. Take a seat, take several seats and think about it. And that's a beautiful process too, because that is like really you're in the void when you don't know which way is up. And then it's a big moment to just take a big breath and a pause when I'm feeling the undesirable feelings. It's an invitation. My subconscious is saying, hey, pay attention to me. I'm deep inside of you and I have so much to tell you right now. Listen and see what happens next. Because to live from within is so much more fun than this external preoccupation with what should be. It's been really freeing. That moksha, liberation, that's yoga magic. It's been around a long time. Still works. It's really good technology.
It has no time. It is present. I love that label of an invitation. It is your subconscious, and maybe even do you feel like subconscious is the magic? Is part of that of there to say, hey, I have this gift for you of wisdom, like you're saying, presenting it.
Yes, there is all inside. They call it the blue pearl. I'm not so familiar with this pearl thing. It's a meditation thing, but there is an actual crystal in your brain. So your brain is formed around a crystal, and this is true. There's a crystal in your brain. Everything formed around it. And you know, crystals are little talismans. Yes, you can change things. Yes, I remember that I can heal. The amethyst reminds me, yes, I can heal. And the rose quartz reminds me, yes, I can love. Selenite tells me, yes, I can cleanse from within. So focusing within helps you unpack all of those magical tools that you do have. I love that you said it like that. As without, so within. It's a microcosm inside.
Oof, I feel that. This has been a very cool conversation to me to be like, we're all in the all evers, and also I feel very grounded in my body and breathing, and it doesn't feel like this huge rush off to something, which has been a very magical podcasting experience. And I thank you for that and all of this.
Yay! Yeah, I approached this like a beautiful meditation, a meeting of the minds. My meditation leaders have been teaching me that you can have an intelligent conversation while in that flow state. It doesn't have to be something separate. You know, incorporating that more into daily life and daily conversations, it just feels good.
And maybe that's a big piece of the magic here we're seeing, is where they come together. Thank you so much for tuning in. We're 13 seconds on the Instagram time here. I look forward to having you on the podcast again. This was so much fun.
Awesome.